All right, guys, lecture number 3, Principles of Business. Again, time, I always say it flies by. I have to come up with something else to say, but it really does. We make it through week 1 and week 2 and week 3 here, and we've got things that are big that are due in the next week, and it starts to get very busy, I think, in week 3 at the end. Oh, lying on the sciatic nerve. Oh, no, exactly. Exactly, Brianne. Different conversation for those of you watching the recording. Okay, week 3, on Sunday we will be 75% complete with our course. Keep up the good work, don't slow down. Sometimes in week 3 is when I see people skip assignments, maybe not turning things in. I don't know what it's about week 3. Our last day of the course is Sunday, September 4th, coming up very soon. I can't believe we're going to be in September already. Have all assignments submitted by then. And my big word of advice is don't treat any assignment as optional. Even if you're late getting something in, please do go ahead and turn it in and at least get partial points so that it'll have a positive effect on your grade instead of a negative effect. Our final project, our business plan, and I know some of you are working on it because I've been getting emails here and there, questions about it, and I love that. Be sure, I know I've brought it up before, it is related to your core program. So when you do your business plan, it needs to be related to your core program, whatever major you are in college. The example that I sent out, a great thing to be able to do, which I did in our office the other day with another student, was I pulled up this grading rubric for the final project. I had that up on one computer and then the example business plan open on another. And I walked the student through how it's set up the same so that you could see, you could even print this out if you wanted to and hold it next to your computer so that you could see in the example business plan that her first slide was the company name, her second slide is the executive summary, her third slide is the company objectives, and on down the line until you get down to your citations. So again, it'll give you more of a visual of what this is going to look like. And be sure on those citations that you use APA format or APA style. And there are links to that on our course page. I believe it's under course expectations. So there are websites set up for setting it citations for different citation styles. There's several different ones out there. MLA and APA are two of the biggest ones. So when you go to that website, normally you have to pick which style you're wanting to set up. Plug in the information that you have, such as the website, the name of the author of the article, the title of the article, when it was written. If you can find that, sometimes on, if you're using something that you found on the internet, sometimes it's hard to find that date. So it's okay to leave something blank if you cannot find it. So you plug in that information, you tell it to build the citation, and it gives you about 2 lines put together with colons and semicolons and periods in such a way that it makes sense for APA citations. Copy it, paste it at the end of your project, and there you have your official APA citations. I know it sounds scary, but once you've done one, it really does make it a fairly easy process. And you will be using this in a lot of your other AOS courses as well, because they're now requiring us to use APA citation. So it's best just to go ahead and make the dive and get used to it, right? Okay, your progress so far. In week 1 of our mini lessons, you came up with your product, service, or description. In week 2, You came up with your company name and your business form. So how many here already have their company name? You do, Brittany? Wonderful. Chelsea, you do too? Awesome. All right, so that's 50% of those here. Let's see. Gotcha. Okay, Jennifer, you've got yours, but Brianne, you're trying to decide, so maybe you've got it narrowed down to a few choices, huh? Well, fantastic. Well, remember from last week's lecture to kind of bounce it off other people you know, too, that sometimes that helps to hear what they think. So in week 3, we're going to write our executive summary. And I know, again, that sounds like a huge, scary thing, but it's not. An executive summary, why is it so important? So it's way up there in your slides. You're trying to interest an investor or maybe a bank loan officer. You're trying to get your foot in the door as far as maybe getting the money that you need to start your dream business. And this is sometimes the only thing they actually read in your business plan. Sometimes they want you to turn in a printed form of a business plan. They go past your front page with your name. They go straight to your executive summary. And this is where you want to catch their attention. You don't want them to pitch it in the trash. So this may be it. So what we want to do when writing our executive summaries, first paragraph. Now, this is a lot to sort of take in and write down, but please remember I'll be putting the recording up later today. So if you need to refer back to this when you're doing your business plan, just pull up the live lecture for week 3, and in this first 5 or 10 minutes, that's where the information will be, so that you can play the recording, and when you get to this part, hit pause and read over this. So I'm going to go through it though. At the top of the slide, you'll want to put executive summary. The first paragraph, you're going to have your business name and the proposed location in that. Now, please remember that I had you pick an exact location for your business plan. So you might say it's going to be at 31st and Sheridan, at 51st and Harvard. Oh, good, Brittany. Hey, that's a good idea. I never thought of that. Yeah, very good idea. So Brittany, for those of you watching the recording without the chat box, said, I always take pictures of important slides with my phone. So that would make it easier to refer back to this one. Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to have to pass that one along. Problem and solution is also in your first paragraph. Explain the problem in the industry sector that you are attacking. So what's the issue? Why is your business needed, and how could your business help solve that problem? So personalize it so that even the least knowledgeable investor for that industry gets it quickly. Maybe they don't know anything about running tattoo shops. So you want to give them the background that they need in that first paragraph. The website B plan suggests that if the purpose of the plan is to find investors, then you say it in this first paragraph. Or if you're seeking a small business startup loan, say it there. If you can't say it in 30 seconds or less, so in other words, read that paragraph in 30 seconds or less and have your mom understand it, then you don't know it yourself. So it needs to be simplified. This isn't where you get wordy. This is where you point out the most important parts of your business. I'm going to show you a few examples. Also, include in the second paragraph, so this is mainly all we're looking for in an executive summary is 2 paragraphs minimum. Include your target market, who will buy your product or use your service, if there's a certain background, age group, or industry. Remember, we talked about target markets in one of our assignments. Competitors and a competitive advantage. Who is your competition in the area and what makes you different? How will you go above and beyond to make yourself a little different? And I know I brought this up in an earlier lecture when I ran our pet boarding facility in Joplin, Missouri. The things that we did that were different was that we allowed for pickups on Sunday, where most of the other places were closed. On Sunday, you could only pick up on Monday. So people had to go that extra day without their pets if they went somewhere on the weekend. A lot of people really loved that. We also sent pictures while the puppy and kitty parents were away on vacation. We would email pictures, and we would take them on river romps and park walks for an additional fee too. So you're going to make yourself stand out a little bit. Okay, here's a good example of an executive summary. Are you ready? ClassJunkie.com is an online service that will be developed and managed from my home office at 123 South Main in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. ClassJunkie.com will allow, and this is a good thing to add, either lettered or numbered or bulleted points that are easy to read. Teachers to offer and manage courses, students to find courses, a marketplace to sell, buy, and rent course material. Lack of centralized online resources makes it difficult to find adult courses and after-school programs, so they stated what the problem is. Instructors can't afford and don't use SEO, PPC, social, or digital marketing. ClassicJunkie.com's online course catalog lets people find local on-site, offline classes. So can you see how that gave the basics? It gave the name, where they're located, what they'll do, what the problem is, and how they're going to solve it. That was all in paragraph 1. Now, paragraph 2, 44% of U.S. adults over 16, about 106 million people, take classes. Adults pay an average of $101 per class. 90% of parents, 134 million, want after-school activities for their children, and they pay an average of $109 per week. Corporate and government training averages $800 per person. The annual learning tax credit is $2,000 per person. Our 4 main competitors are Skillshare.com, Betterfly.com, Craigslist.com, TakeLesson.com. No competitor has class scheduling, instructor profiles, student feedback, or offer rent venues for courses. No competitor allows students to buy or sell used class material. This will be what sets us apart from the rest. So can you see from these 2 paragraphs how we've really grabbed the attention of a potential investor or a bank manager? So we've got all the basics. So then we want that person to look at this, to read this, and then go, wow, I want to know more about these people. So then go through the rest of your business plan. Here's a poor example. I got an idea for an awesome business. I don't really know what the name will be or where it will be located. We will make things that is different for people who like different things. 97.3% of people like different things. We will have no competition because we rock. You should probably give us some money. So from our good example to this example, would you guys tell me what's wrong with this example? What are the things that are standing out to you? Spelling, yes, like a sore thumb. Everything. Yes, everything is wrong. What else? Very unprofessional, yes. This looks more like a text message than an actual executive summary. Vague, right? We don't have a business name, and we don't have a location. And we don't even know what they want to buy, sell, or trade, right? Exactly, Jennifer. Spelling awful, no information that is useful in order to promote their idea. So this business plan would probably get pitched right away. In the trash. Okay, writing high-impact messages, executive summary. Use single spacing, block paragraphs as opposed to tabbing in the first sentence. Double space between paragraphs so that one paragraph stands out from the other. Do not indent the first sentence. Block paragraphs create a more organized look, especially in a PowerPoint presentation or a Google Slides. Headings are labeled so that you can easily see what it is, and bulleted list engage your reader. Even whenever you're reading something, if you have to pick between something that's in large paragraph form or bulleted readings, you're going to choose that bulleted reading almost every time. Then you might go back and read. Pick the right words. Companies that communicate effectively have a 47% higher return to shareholders. And you've probably, or you maybe have worked in a business before where communication was just not there. Or maybe my example is a school system that my kids were in, and communication was so poor we didn't know when activities were, special events that were happening. You really felt like sort of an outsider, and you don't want your employees to feel that way. In business, your message is competing with limited attention. The right words can encourage your audience to stay with you, and the right words begin with the needs of your audience. I like this quote, "I'll spend an hour editing an 8-word sentence into 5, by Jerry Seinfeld. So you want to be clear, be concise, but include all the relevant information. So in those 2 paragraphs from that executive summary, we want to have all the relevant, important information. Don't alienate yourself by using slang in either written or verbal communication. And I know that's hard to do, and it takes some practice sometimes. Avoid gender bias, age bias, race, ethnicity, or nationality bias, of course. Don't make grammar goofs. Some of you, that first sentence is really bothering you, isn't it? Or that heading. There's a lot of problems in that heading. They distract the reader. They jump off the page. I have the same thing happen as an instructor. Sometimes I'm reading final projects and I'm like, oh no, they didn't do spell check. You know, that's one of the #1 things you need to do before you turn it in, is do that spell check. They undermine your credibility. And not everyone is strong in English, you know, and so it's a good idea if that's not your strength, have someone proofread. My mom was an English major in college, and to this day, sometimes when I'm typing things up, I'll still let my mom proofread it. She's almost 80 years old, and and I'm asking my mom to proofread my work. She's very good at it. Use a professional guide and check grammatical questions. Presentations. So when you're presenting this possibly to investors, has anybody seen this movie? Investors, possibly you. If you've seen this movie, you will understand. I like to bring this up as an example because as far as presentations go, they did a pretty decent job. They had their script. They were dressed correctly. They had practiced. You could tell they had practiced. They had visual aids. So there was a lot going on there until that, you know, the boat wreck at the end. So we don't want that to be you. Let's say you've got this business plan together and now you're presenting it at the bank to a group of bankers and assistants. So when you're presenting, be sure to be on time, and this means a little bit early but not too early. 10 to 15 minutes early is good. 30 minutes early is a little creepy. be prepared, bring copies of your plan. And so, of course, you've probably turned in a copy to the bank, or to the investors, but go ahead and bring extra copies just in case, because that shows that you're very prepared. The same thing goes for when you're doing a job interview. Bring extra resumes, because you will then be above the rest, because you've got that extra resume ready to go. Look good, first impressions count. Go with what I call the vanilla rule. Dress vanilla. Clothes and shoes should be fairly neutral, because you want them to notice you first, not what you're wearing. Hair up if you have long hair, because long hair can be distracting. And medium makeup and jewelry. Not a lot of that either. Smell good. I hate that I even have to bring that out, but smell good, sound good, and be ready for questions, because they may have many after you've given your presentation. I like to bring this up. A visible tattoo can increase your credibility in some jobs. And, you know, in today's world, a lot more people have tattoos than they used to. They're a lot more socially acceptable. So can you guys think of a job where having a visible tattoo might increase your credibility? Think of all the different businesses out there. A tattoo shop, exactly, Chelsea. Can you imagine if you were going in to apply at a tattoo shop and you had no tattoos at all? You wouldn't exactly be blending, right? And they want to see examples of your work. Not that you're going to do a lot of work on yourself, but you might. Cosmetology industry, Brittany, you do see more of that. Tattoo advertisement, I have seen a little bit of that as well, Jennifer. Yeah. Exactly. Well, and I don't know if you're talking about, like, there are models that's what they do, is they are tattoo models. Yeah. Right. Maybe running a bar someplace in the entertainment industry. It seems like we see it more and more there too. So your appearance is powerful. In clothing departments, Brianne, yeah, exactly. And you know, it used to be that, oh, those have to be covered up, we can't see them. They're a lot more acceptable, but in some business areas they may still be taboo depending on the owner, depending on the age of the owner. My mom, again, the fabulous English major, is still convinced that if you have a tattoo, you're not going to be able to get a job. You can't get a job if they can see a tattoo. So things are changing. 50% of perception is through appearance, so what you look like, how you speak the first time. First impressions are hard to change, but they're easy to manage with a lot of planning. And so don't let how you look get in the way of your success on the job. You want, if you're getting a job, if you're making a presentation, you want them paying attention to your voice, your face, what you're saying. Oh, exactly, Chelsea. So you have 5, and you can easily cover them up with a cardigan if you need to, right? So this might be an example. People with tattoos seem like they're easier to address. That's interesting that you brought that up to talk to, right? Maybe you're a little more relaxed because you perceive them as being a little more relaxed too. Well, cool. Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Which kind of ties in here with nonverbal contact or nonverbal communication as well. Having that tattoo may make you seem a little more approachable. However, some people, it might be just the opposite too. Again, older generation might be, oh, I don't know about talking to that person, you know. Right, Jennifer. Yeah, exactly. So Jennifer said, and let me read this so that people watching the YouTube recording will still get it. Sometimes I think when we see someone with a lot of tattoos, they want to express themselves as seen more as an individual instead of a product of society. Yeah, that was from Jennifer. Very good. Oh, and Brittany's mom made sure that her 2 tattoos are hidden. And Brianna's scared of needles. Yeah, so we all have different perceptions. That's right. So, and I've heard that people that, you know, sometimes you get addicted to the feeling of the needles, Brianne, so it could go either way. So nonverbal communication when you're giving your presentation, you want to be sure and give eye contact. Don't be looking down at your notes the whole time. Watch your tone of voice. Our voice tends to rise as we continue to speak. So sometimes my kids, when they hear me giving a lecture or talking to a student, they'll say, "Mom, your voice gets so high." And I'll have to think about it, consciously think about it, and bring my voice back down lower. Oh, Jennifer says, my mom is a retired elementary principal and all tattoos had to be hidden. You saw a lot of Band-Aids on teachers. I wonder if the kids thought they were just always injured. That one teacher, she's always has Band-Aids on. Facial expressions, watch your gestures and your posture. Something that I find hard on my live lecture is that you don't really see my gesture or my posture unless I get my hands up here. And it's hard to give your gestures when you're speaking, but when I'm in person, I do use a lot of hand gestures. So I don't want to use too much though in a presentation. I don't want to use too little to be perceived as just stick straight and not moving around. In face-to-face communication, only 7% of meaning comes from verbal content, while 38% comes from tone of voice and 55% comes from body language. So that's why we really have to pay attention to the whole picture, to the whole package. Oh, and Brian said, at my job interview yesterday, they thought I was from way down south because I have a natural hick accent. Oh, Brian, well, we're from Oklahoma. We naturally have that. I understand that. I was kind of self-conscious of mine when we moved to Missouri. And I taught for a little bit up in Joplin, Missouri, and I worried about my Okie accent, but I found that, you know, once somebody gets to know you, they don't even notice it. And when I taught in Poto, Oklahoma, which is very close to Texas, they have an even heavier Texas accent down there. Nebraskans think it's hilarious. See, and we think their accent's hilarious. So it's whatever area you're from, right? I like this. 85% of our learning is derived from listening. And if you break down different employees and the percent of time they're spent listening, in this graph you'll notice an hourly employee spends about 30% of their time listening. A manager, 60%. And think about that. It's usually because they're listening to whatever the hourly employees have to say. An executive spends about 75% of their time listening, and a top salesman spends about 75% of their time listening. So the higher you go up on the pay scale, oftentimes the more time you spend listening. And it's funny because we think it's just the opposite, that the executive or the top salesman is going to be the one doing all the talking. But it turns out if you can really listen to what someone has to say, it shows that you're thinking about their problems, you're helping solve problems, you're taking in what they have to say. So when you get time to do a dynamic delivery for your presentation, and you know, the same thing goes anytime you're speaking to a group. You want to practice, know your material, but don't just have it memorized, because people can tell when you're speaking for memorization. Look at your audience at least 50% of the time. Again, you have to think about it. Vary your voice expression and body language, because if you're monotone and standing still, they're going to go to sleep. Use selective notes or note cards. And sometimes what I do, especially right here for live lecture, my PowerPoint, that's my notes. That's how I go through my live lecture. I don't have a separate set of notes to the side. This is what I use. So when you're giving your presentation, you might be doing the same thing using your Google Slides or using your PowerPoint. Stick to your allotted time. You might just have 15 minutes to give it. Slow down, listen to yourself. That's a big thing because we talk faster when we're nervous. So we want to sit down and think about how fast we're going through. And if we have to really speed through a presentation because of the allotted time period, maybe we need to cut down on what we're saying so that we can slow down what we're saying as well. So don't apologize if you mess up, just keep on going. You'll lose your train of thought, you'll get embarrassed, so just keep on going. Remember to use natural gestures, and again, did I mention practicing, right? Any questions? One does not simply end a presentation without a thank you slide, so be sure and put a thank you slide at the end as well. That will make them feel kind of a little more honored. Thanks for you being there, and you're thanking them for taking a little time out of their day. Okay? So, my little class for today, 4 people. Do you have any questions? You should be putting that business plan together, writing that executive summary this week. Anything that you can think of. Helpful information. Fantastic, Jennifer. That's what I shoot for. All right. I covered it. That's my goal. That's my goal. I want you guys to feel good about putting this business plan together. I want you to be able to do it well because you may have to do it at some point in the future. I would love that. Fantastic, guys. Well, carry on with your day. I hope it's a good one. Middle of the week, girl power, because we may or may not have an all-girl class. I think we do, though. Fantastic. You guys have a great Wednesday. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Brianne. Hope you get to feeling better. Bye, Jennifer. Have a good day.